We awaited with bated breath the 5th episode of The Acolyte, Night, and it's finally out. From this episode, we can start piecing together how I think the series is going to end. And not just this, there is a major connection between the character of Qimir and eventually what will become the Knights of Ren. We heard Kylo Ren's theme. We have a lot to cover in this video, my dear friends, but right off the bat, I would say it was definitely on the stronger side of the season so far. The action was really fun, and once again, but to an elevated extent, Manny Jacinto as Qimir was the standout star. He was a menace. He twatted all the Jedi and hole-punched Jecki as if she was a piece of Sith paperwork. And as aforementioned, we have a clear idea of where the series is headed. And look, I've been seeing what fans are saying. It was so sad to see all of the Jedi die, Yord get his neck twisted, Jecki being killed, all of the others. I would say, I'm just happy they had the guts to kill off some major characters halfway through the show. We often say Disney Star Wars doesn't have consequences, and unless I'm wrong and Jecki gets up in the next episode and tries to find Osha, I'm glad they made a daring, concrete decision like this. No insane plot armor, they just go right to the point. It was shocking but poignant, and it conveyed how strong this Sith, asterisk needed, we'll come back to this later, truly is. The dialogue between Lee Jung-jae's soul and Qimir was incredible. Those two are carrying the series way higher than it would otherwise be. With the dialogue, there was so much that was revealed. And as you're going to see, my dear friends, some subtleties give away some important details I think you might have missed. I also love that we got live-action cortosis, a metal that some Sith used, which had a high absorption rate. It allowed the energy of lightsabers and blaster bolts to dissipate upon contact. It's why we saw the Jedi's lightsaber blades short out. Now, while there were some cool things like this, I do have a strong criticism about one specific moment that really bothers me. But more on this later on. First things first, Qimir is the helmeted Sith. Anyone shocked? I'm not. Until this point, there was some speculation he wasn't a Sith at all. Some kind of dark side cultist. And he might still be, but he does flat out say, in the context of what the Jedi might refer to him as, he's a Sith. It could be a cover-up for a different Sith cult, but I don't think so. Leslie Headland flat out said, this show is about the Sith. If Qimir is telling the truth, a Sith would never use the word in front of a Jedi. Even though in the moment he's killed most of them and he thinks he's going to kill Master Soul, they wouldn't use that word in front of them. It was pure exposition for the audience. I know the response to what I'm about to say is that it's Legends, it doesn't count, but in the Bane trilogy and Darth Plagueis, we learn why centuries ago, the Sith stopped revealing themselves to the Jedi and didn't use red lightsabers in their presence, let alone use the word Sith. Not until the grand plan was in place. And this is the bit that bothers me the most. In the years leading up to the prequel trilogy, the Sith were preparing the grand plan, and the scheming involved an agreement to not reveal to the Jedi who they were, if they were ever caught. It's why Master Soul is surprised. Qimir would risk being seen. They preferred infiltrating the Jedi instead of facing them head-on. Specifics of Qimir are pretty much unknown, but there is a major clue when he says he was looking for a pupil of his own, an acolyte. This tells us he is a Sith apprentice, not the Sith master. Leslie told us there is the rule of two, but she's bringing into canon the concept from the expanded universe of the apprentice taking on an acolyte of his own and making them believe they're the true master, when the real Sith can remain in the shadows. But they would never use the word. The real Sith, the real big bad, has yet to be revealed, my dear friends. But another detail you might have missed is that Qimir says he has no name. This isn't just because he doesn't want to expose himself to the surviving Jedi, but maybe his master hasn't yet given him his dark side name. I want you to think back to Revenge of the Sith. Sidious calls upon the dark side to name Darth Vader. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader. And perhaps Qimir has not been given his Sith name yet. It's possible he has not faced all of the trials. Maybe what went down on Kofar was part of his own trials. But something massive I think needs to be spoken about is in the fight between Soul and Qimir. Qimir knows that Soul is hiding something and knows he has a darkness and a dark secret within him. This could be simply what happened on Brendok. Maybe Soul started the fire, maybe is responsible for the murder of all of the witches. Or it might be darker. Do you remember my theory that Soul might be a dark side user himself? I found it very telling that when Soul says to Qimir, what kind of master does not reveal his face to his apprentice? Qimir replies, you tell me. There is a darkness in Soul that could go beyond what we expect. But now we have a crazy dilemma, where May swapped places with her sister Osha, and is on her way back with Sol to Coruscant. I think Sol knows. It appeared at first glance as if Sol assumed it was Osha, but maybe he wants to turn her in. And doing this successfully means just going along with the fact that she thinks he thinks that she's Osha. There's also a theory the reason that Sol wanted both Osha and May is that if he is a secret Sith, he wanted both Osha and May's dyad as a formidable dual apprentice, 2 as 1. On the other hand, in the forest of Kofar, Osha has been found by Qimir, playing into the theory that Osha will be the Acolyte by the end of the series. And there was a leak by Bespin Bulletin that in the final episode, one of the twins played by Mandla Stenberg is going to fight Sol. That might be Osha, after she finds out what happened on Brendok, that Sol was to blame. Osha very much has rose-tinted glasses about the role of the Jedi that night, a perspective that May says is wrong, and the twins have finally reunited. And I assume May is going to try and kill Sol on the journey back. The Jedi are really being made out to be the bad guys. So on the subject of the Jedi who have died, I'm hoping Disney sticks by this decision. We don't need more of the infamous recent trend of Jedi surviving lightsaber blows. I also found the disrespect shown by Qimir to Jeki hilarious, when Sol is lamenting the death of his Padawan, and he says, "Was that its name? It. Freaking it." And I like this, because it shows the heartlessness and inhumane nature of the Sith. I think the final 3 episodes are going to be very interesting, because Qimir is going to open Osha's mind to what happened. May is no longer a viable acolyte, so maybe Osha is his next target. He's going to reveal the truth of what happened to the witches and what happened that night on Brendok. It'll be interesting to see the often optimistic but still fearful Osha potentially turn to the dark side. It's safe to say the action in this episode is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. It is still a major improvement over episodes 3 and 4, and we get to see a level of cold-blooded Sith evil doing that we've not seen for a long time. I'm just hoping Qimir is the apprentice to someone like Plagueis or Tenebrous. I just hope Leslie Headland's words about respecting the expanded universe mean some of those elements are going to be brought into canon. Now here is an interesting point of speculation. Did you hear Kylo Ren's theme at the end where Qimir finds Osha? I'm starting to think Qimir was the first Ren. The Ren that the Ren from the comics Between the Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi based himself on. 150 years prior there was the first Ren. And it's fascinating when you pay attention to the way Qimir speaks. I have no name, but Jedi like you might call me a Sith. I don't make the rules, the Jedi do. And the Jedi say I can't exist. This one line basically changes everything we knew about the Sith, because it signifies the way the Jedi define the Sith is not the same way they define themselves. This is a major distinction, because Qimir might serve a Sith Lord, but in and of himself have his own offshoot, similar to the way Kylo Ren served Snoke, but was also the leader of the Knights of Ren. This could be a similar situation, so ultimately to the Jedi he is Sith, but maybe it is more complex. But I fervently believe all the Jedi in this show who've encountered Qimir have to die, including Master Sol. And if every Jedi dies, then I suppose what Ki-Adi-Mundi said in The Phantom Menace still holds up. But my problem is this: why even bring Ki-Adi-Mundi into the show? And why have the Sith reveal themselves to the Jedi whatsoever 100 years before episode 1? Even if on a technicality it makes sense and it does work, it does change my personal perception of it, and to me it just waters it down. That's just how I feel, honestly. I know there are going to be defenses of this, and saying why it doesn't change anything, why it's an exaggeration, but I'm just being honest. Ki-Adi-Mundi was around, even though he doesn't find out it's a Sith, and maybe word never gets back to him about the red lightsaber. He was aware of the May situation, May killing Indara, Torbin, then Kelnaka. He was aware of it. It just comes across as him being oblivious, a cover-up. And this gets to another criticism. I'm starting to kind of dislike the way this show is framing the Jedi. I know they're flawed, but if you watch this show in isolation, you would believe they're idiots. It's a criticism I just don't see them reconciling with 3 episodes to go. But look, at least this episode was a bit more fun than the last 2, and I'm guessing Qimir is going to take Osha back to Brendok. He's going to make her remember the truth of what happened that night. I do still find it interesting. Qimir thinks Sol is a hypocrite. There is so much he's hiding, and I can't wait to find out what it is. But what did you guys think of this episode? Share your thoughts in the comments down below. Did you like it? Did you not? Please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you in the next video. May the Force be with you, always.